وأزواجكم وعشيرتكم وأموال اقترفتموها وتجارة تخشون كسادها ومساكن ترضونها أحب إليكم من الله ورسوله وجهاد في سبيله فتربصوا حتى يأتي الله بأمره والله يهدي القوم الفاسقين. This is a Quran ayah that I read, and the translation, the nearest meaning of this translation is that, say if your fathers, your sons, your brothers, your wives, your kindred, the wealth that you have gained, the commerce in which you have feared a decline, and the dwellings in which you delight are dearer to you than Allah and His Messenger, and striving hard and fighting in His cause, then wait until Allah brings about His decision for me. And Allah guides not the people who are al-fasiqeen, the rebellious, disobedient to Allah. Now, the last reminder, like I've told you guys, is I was talking about brotherhood, and I made I emphasized on that notion that it's important for us to keep this brotherhood. And so, what I thought I'd go through this reminder is basically what can cause a drift between brothers. And this drift can be caused between partners of a business, family, and this cause is what? The characteristic of having greed. Greed, we can see it in business. If one partner gets a bit too greedy, you'll try to undermine the other partner and you'll try to take all the assets. Yeah? That's one way. Another way, to what I've witnessed, what I can relate to is Asians, Badvara in houses, how they divide houses. When one family member gets too big for his bridges, gets ahead of himself. He takes the house and he divides it. Gives the elders, the parent, the father, and the mother a small little room, and he and his wife takes the whole lot. And then in friendship, it can be caused there as well. Right? That if some friend gets a bit too greedy, the other person doesn't like it, so there's a drift that's caused. So this characteristic of greed is something that's disgusting, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us against it. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, he warns us against that as well. And he tells a story to his companions to instill this warning, to give an example why it should be something that we refrain from. And this story is of Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, peace be upon him, and a scenario that occurred during his time. Jesus, peace be upon him, and his companions were on a journey. And while on that journey, him and his companions, they got a bit hungry. So he asked one of his companions to go to some nearby town and get some food, and gives them a bit of money. Now the companion goes to that nearby town, and he sees the money in his hand, and he could only purchase 3 loaves of bread. He couldn't purchase that much food. And there are so many companions of Jesus, peace be upon him. So what he decides to do is eat one of the loaf of bread, because he's hungry as well. Think, do you know what? I'll just sneak this one and give the remaining 2 to eat, Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, peace be upon him. So he does that, goes back to Jesus, peace be upon him, and he gives the 2 loaves of bread. And Isa alayhi salam, he asks, what happened to the 3rd loaf of bread? See, this is the Prophet, this is the Messenger of God. So he knows, right? Well, this companion, he says that there was only enough money for 2. So he lied to him, right? Isa alayhi salam, he stays quiet. He doesn't say anything further. And they trod along on the journey. While on the journey, his companions were successful in hunting a deer, a baby deer. They barbecued the baby deer, they cut it, they killed, ate from it. Isa alayhi salam, he makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that by the permission of who enabled us to hunt this deer and kill it, bring it back to life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right there and then, by the permission of Allah, he came back to life. See? Assalamu alaikum.
Are you guys going to get this? You got pretty sure?
Yeah, inshallah. Come join us, innit?
How long could be the
around 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah. So,
Inshallah.
inshallah. This baby deer, it comes back to life. Despite the fact that they cooked it, one for one. They cut it, They ate from it, and despite all that, it came to life. Look at the miracle of Isa alayhi salam. And after that miracle had occurred, he asked the companion who ate the third loaf of bread. And the companion, again, he reiterates that there was only enough for two. So Isa alayhi salam remains quiet. They go a bit further on the journey, and they come across a vast river. Right? Isa alayhi salam, he commands his companions to hold on to him, because we know that Isa alayhi salam, what ability did he have? He had the ability to walk over water, isn't it? That was one of the karamat, the mu'jiza that they were able to commit, which was that they were able to walk over, that he was able to walk over water. So he walks over the water and gets to the other end. And then Isa alayhi salam, he asked who ate the loaf of bread. And the companion, again, he reiterates that there was only enough for two. Again, Isa alayhi salam, he remains quiet. They go a bit further, and he commands one of his companions to power three piles of sand. And by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those sands, he turns them into gold. And he says that one pile is for me. So he's sharing the piles up. One pile is for the rest. And one pile is for the person who ate the third loaf of bread. So this guy, I was the one that ate it. I was the one that ate the third loaf of bread. Isa alayhi salam says, you know what, you can have all three piles on one condition. You start accompanying us in this journey. He didn't kill them, because he was thinking, I'm living large. I've got all these 3 piles of gold. I've got nothing to worry about. So they leave him. And then the 3 thieves see him. And they're scratching their head. They're thinking, this guy, he's got so much wealth, he's got no tribe, he's got no one, he's got no weapons. Let's kill him off. Let's take his gold. Let's steal it. So that's what they do. They jump him, they kill him off, and they're celebrating in their new acquired wealth. Right? But then one of the thieves tells the other thief, you know what? Take some of this wealth, go purchase us some food so that we can celebrate properly. Eat some food, have some drink. So that's what the other thief does. He goes and acquires some food. But see, because these guys are thieves, they wanted the money for all themselves, innit? So the thief that goes to purchase the food, he puts some poison on the food. And the thieves that remained there, they were coming up with a plan to ambush him, kill him off, and share his gold amongst them too. So the third thief, he returns with the food, and they jump him to kill him. They sit down, they eat the food, and they die too from the poison. And for some odd reason, Isa alayhi salam, he returns to that same spot, and he points to them, and he says, this is what this world is, and this is what it will bring. That's the end of the story. And you can see that from this story, the emphasis of greed is emphasized. Where there's greed, it left him to what? Destruction. Greed left him to what? Nothing. The notion of greed is quite provoking, that when you are quite greedy, you're left with nothing. If you're greedy in terms of your house or whatever, at the end of it, what comes around goes around. You're left with nothing. And this was one of the causes that can occur between brothers. And the notion of brotherhood is what I mentioned before. And this is something that can break that notion of brotherhood. Something simple as this is one of the tools that Shaitan can use. And it may seem very simple and something, this can't happen to me. But Shaitan, he's quite cunning. Right? Satan, he's quite cunning. The devil, he's quite cunning. So he can use these simple tools, manifest it in some big way, and cause a drift between them. So inshallah, this is a reminder today. And I pray that it helps for us to keep this in mind, so that when we do interact with brothers, we're quite generous with one another, we're quite sharing. Like Solomon, when he purchases you food, he'll buy the food for you, and on top of that he'll share his own food. So inshallah, let's try to be like the companions of the Prophet, let's be like the Prophet himself, that we don't exhibit this characteristic of greed, and that we exhibit instead generosity, caringness, etc. Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan for listening. Any mistakes that I've made is from me, and any good that I've said is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.